It has been a long-standing tradition for colleges to host spring games as the culmination of their spring practices. However, now many college coaches are questioning if they should even host their spring games. Are they hurting or helping their program? Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Lauren Harth alongside Amanda Vogt, and we're here to break down the positives and negatives of changes to college spring games. Now, Amanda, Matt Rhule started the trend early February when he canceled Nebraska's spring game. Lots of other coaches have followed suit since then. What are some of the positives and pros of canceling these spring games?
Well, with the expanded college football playoff that we saw for the first time implemented this past season, the seasons are getting longer. So there's not as much time to have a long off season than to get people back up to game shape right away.
You want them to be super healthy, and it's just harder to do that.
Exactly, because then you have summer ball right after. So you want to use the spring as smartly as you can. And now what Penn State did is they already adjusted even their winter workout schedule when their playoff run ended mid-January after the loss in the Orange Bowl to Notre Dame. Granted, they didn't play that extra week that the national championship was held, but they still delayed their winter workouts. They didn't even have a full max-out day because players just aren't at that level where they were, where their season ended at the end of December the year prior. So I think that giving that extra time for rest and recovery is extremely beneficial. And another thing that the NC State program brought up, they brought in both a new offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. And they don't want to give their opponents any look early on as to what those new schemes that they're installing right now can be. And especially the spring is where a bulk of that work gets done. And then you really test to see how much that is retained during summer camp.
Yeah, you don't want to give out a free scouting report to the opponent.
Absolutely not.
You're working super hard with your new coordinators, new coaches to create those creative plans that really are going to keep your opponents guessing during the season. And you run those in the spring, and you don't want to just easily give those away.
Imagine if they gave up one of those Tyler Warren plays. Penn State would not have the same element of surprise.
Exactly. It would have been horrible for Penn State. But another thing that I'm focusing on, kind of like you touched on, is the injuries and the preventing of injuries in an in-game. You know, some of them can still be banged up from their playing in the season. You know, Texas was talking about, and Texas and Steve Sarkisian were talking about how they played 16 games this season and 30 over the past 2 seasons.
Which is unreal.
The body can only take so many hits, and you really want to use that spring to get them well for the intense summer training and ultimately for the fall season. So you really want to take the spring to heal your whole team. But, you know, where there's a pro, there must always be a con. In your eyes, what are some of the negatives of canceling these games?
Yeah, so a big thing about spring ball is this is the first time you get to see a bunch of your transfers and your early enrollees in uniform practicing for the first time. And now with these teams that are canceling their spring game, they're not going to get a chance to see what the environment of the stadium looks like. Granted, Beaver Stadium does not feel like it would for a whiteout crowd.
It's a very different environment.
But it does draw a good amount of fans, and you get that element of having some noise, music blasting in a stadium that you don't get on the fields inside and outside Haluba Hall. So I really think that when you kind of want to evaluate where some of these younger guys are at, especially when you're thinking even heading into summer camp of who might have a green light or a yellow light or who you know is going to have a red shirt season, trying to find some of these standout players and seeing how they blend is a key thing into knowing who's going to be ready once August rolls around and that season comes right back.
Yeah, you touched on it perfectly. And Shane Beamer was saying down at South Carolina, it's a completely different environment when you come from high school and then are playing in front of thousands of people every weekend. So it kind of creates a simulation for those early enrollees or freshmen to fully experience what a game day looks like in a college stadium.
Those live reps that you don't necessarily always have in kind of that same first down, second down, third down, fourth down without a break.
Yes, because scrimmaging in practice is different than the actual simulated game they do in their spring games. But another thing I was looking at too is it's a weekend to get recruits on campus. You know, they love to bring recruits in and really give them that game day experience to sell them on why to come to their university. So it's a huge recruiting weekend, and also it just helps bring your team together, brings out the competitive side within your team to play against each other, and you're losing that opportunity for them to create those fun bonds together. But a lot of coaches have cited different reasons for why they're canceling their games going forward or changing them and modifying them. Where do you see spring games going in the future?
Well, Penn State has made some modifications, but James Franklin said in his press conference that started spring ball that it doesn't make sense for Penn State to get rid of it. He called it the homecoming of the spring for Penn State.
Yeah, it brings in so many people just from like a tourism standpoint.
That
even.
and fundraising, especially with all these NIL collectives coming up. But he did say there were some 3 big changes and stuff that's still being decided in the next couple weeks as spring ball continues, and that it's no longer being televised. He's going to have shorter quarters and maybe even eliminate halftime, because he said, I'd be lying if I say I didn't notice that the crowd thins and the parking lots become more packed during that second half of the blue-white game. And it's not going to be a full live game. So you talked about the importance of live reps, but he's saying that not the whole thing won't be kind of like a live scrimmage. It might be some more drill focused here and there. And that's partially because Penn State has a lot of returners. A lot of that 2022 freshman class decided to stay and not declare for the NFL draft, and kind of getting another crack at the expanded college football playoff. I know a lot of them, like Drew Aller, Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen, want another crack at a national championship. So there are a lot of returners. And I think that's also a factor because Penn State already has a good idea of what these guys look like. It's mainly those younger guys on the depth chart who will kind of be taking more advantage of those live reps.
Yeah, and they'll take advantage of those live reps, but you don't need to have a full game of full live reps, just enough to get that physicality down in the spring and kind of get some hits, because you know, in college, they don't have the preseason like the NFL does. This is almost their preseason, just a couple extra months in advance. And you want to create that for that opportunity for your players. But I totally agree with you that it's not going to be widely televised like it has been in the past. You know, you don't want to give that free scouting report. And also, a big argument people are making is about poaching of your players and having them taken. But honestly, Dabo Swinney said it too. If they want your player, they're going to take them with or without the spring game. So
the transfer portal has truly changed a lot of the dynamics.
Yes.
And it really doesn't matter if you're scrimmaging yourself.
It doesn't matter if you're scrimmaging yourself. Like, they're going to get you if they want you. So I think it's exciting to see where it goes. But I think there will always still be some sort of spring game, just modified. I know some are doing more like fan fest and just kind of trying to make a fun weekend out of it. Just doing a modified scrimmage, 7-on-7.
And I'm not surprised that it's heading in this direction, because even the NFL has moved away from a traditional preseason slate as of late.
Because most of their starters don't even play in preseason.
They don't play in preseason, and that season has also gotten longer. So as college football kind of continues on the same path, because let's face it, football sells. That's what's getting all these high money TV contracts, and now players are seeing that even at the college level with all these NIL deals coming up and the expansion of conferences. So it's not shocking that it's trending in this direction, but I do think that it's in the schools' best interest to have some form of game, or whatever you want to call it, to culminate the end of spring ball before that little gap before summer camp officially starts over the summer.
Yeah, the change is inevitable, but completely getting rid of it probably won't happen. Well, we will have to stay tuned to see what the future holds for spring games. In the meantime, keep your eye out for any other schools that cancel or modify their spring games. For Amanda Vogt, I'm Lauren Harth. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this and so much more, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For everyone here at Penn State Sports Night,
we are
Penn State Sports Night.